Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we'll be talking about how to create widgets in Notion. Notion itself doesn't have widgets, but there's a service called Indify that allows you to create widgets in there and embed them into Notion. In this video I'm going to do a demo and show you how to do that and talk about pros and cons of that service. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. And before we start, please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. It helps me enormously with growing this channel. Thank you. As you can see here, I have an updated control center where I have my to-do list here down below. I'm gonna make a separate video about how I plan my projects right now, including my everyday to-do items. You could see a glimpse of that in here. And what we're going to be talking about today are these widgets in the middle of the page. I used to have a habit tracker that I talked about in one of my videos on this channel. But over time, I decided that the database with all the habits becomes super heavy and super big. So I thought it might be better to do something else. So I am trying out these widgets right here. And what I do basically is I track how many times I have done a certain thing or how many items from that list I have completed. These are essentially counters, and that's something that Notion doesn't have, perhaps yet. But there is another service that I use to create those. And right now we're going to dive into that service and I'm going to show you how to create those and show you also other widgets that they have. So I have this page here called the widgets demo that we're going to be using for this video. I'm going to switch now to my browser. And you could see here I already have logged in into my Indify account. So the website is called windify.co. And you could see here my widgets. These are the ones that I just showed you in Notion. All of them are counters. So what we could do is create another widget. So let's just go through all the widgets that they have. We have this bunch of widgets here. It's not that many yet. I think the service is actually pretty new. Let's sort them maybe in alphabetical order. So you could see there's 9 widgets, and this label is called upgrade available, means that there are more options if you pay for this service. So initially you could use it for free. It is pretty cool already in the free version. All right, let's start with buttons. I think this UI is pretty easy to use. It doesn't really need a lot of explanation. So here you could see there is a button here. Let's create a dashboard, link to our dashboard, and let's call it dashboard. And then we could put the URL. If I could go back to my Notion, I could copy a link to my control center and put it in here. Then we could also customize the color, right? It could look in a different way. You could also go to advanced colors and actually picked it from the color picker. You could also use the Notion colors or the Indify colors that they offer you. You could just type in the hex code of the color if you need. But for this demo, I think we don't really need any of that. Here you can actually add another button. For instance, let's see what we could do. Let's link maybe to the 22 for 22 list that I'm doing also this year. Let me see. I think that must be some kind of stars up. Right, let's make it gray. And you could create a hierarchy in here, right? So you can have buttons that are a little bit more into the background. So let's say we can make outline the same color as our background. And here we have our 2 buttons. You can add as many buttons as you want in the widget. Let me go and create a link. Oh, actually, I used the wrong emoji. Let's change that. It's this one. Okay, this is our URL. And then you could go and style those based on your Notion preferences. Let's just keep things default. Sizes, they could go a bit smaller if you don't have enough space. They could go like really large. Let's just keep them medium. Corner radius, right? That you could have like very rounded corners that look like pills. Let's say that's something that we want. We could do something with the spacing. Left would be our choice. It's not really visible in here, but if you do it like this, then you could see that they're actually aligned to the left. up. So this you can adjust as well. Then horizontal padding. Yeah, we could maybe do a little bit of a padding. So that will be 16 pixels. Let's keep it like this. In order to stand out, you could create a background color and you could do the hover menu. Hover menu is the menu that you would see when you're going to use it in Notion. Let's say we don't need a customize button, but could be still handy to have this menu in case you want to adjust it in one way or another. And here you will have this link that you can copy. And that is the link that you're going to need to paste into Notion. So this widget is already created and it doesn't have a name, so we could actually name that, let's say button menu. Right, so if you would like to delete that, the button is right here. And if not, if you go back, you would see it here in my widgets section. So let's go to Notion and paste the link that we just copied. That will be an embed. Basically, all of these widgets are embeds. And there we go. So this is our widget. Yeah, I guess widgets are all and aligned in the center, so it's not super convenient. So what we could do, we can also check if they work. So they actually work. We go to this and we go to the dashboard. All right, so let's say maybe this wasn't the best idea to align them to the left. We could go back to our widgets and go here and change this. So alignment will be center. And then when we are here, if we Control R, refresh our page, you could see that the buttons are aligned horizontally. As you could see, it takes a while for them to load, so it's not the fastest thing. So this is one, I would say, one of the drawbacks of this service. Next up is clock. Dun, 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 cute animations, really love it. Nothing special in here, it's just a regular clock. Let's say you're working for a company that is, on the other side of the world, and that's what you would like to see on your dashboard for some reason. We have different designs in here. So this is the dots, numbers. I find this one a bit weird. Planets. So whatever you would like. The analog smooth, I think this is the one that is a default. Analog tick. That's something that I think a lot of us are used to when it comes to the regular analog clocks. Then there's a regular analog trail. And then we have digital roulette. In my opinion, that will be quite distracting. And digital solid. So this is your very regular digital clock. Let's go to, for example, analog smooth, our default one. Time zone, you could select the time zone. Let's say we want somewhere in New Zealand, Pacific Auckland time. You could also choose for 24-hour clock. You could actually make it pretty minimal. You could remove seconds if that is too distracting. And you could also even remove the seconds dial if you wanted to keep it. But let's just keep everything on. Maybe we don't need a padding. Right, so here exactly the same stuff. You can set a background if you want them to stand out. Let's say maybe we would like to have it a little bit yellow. All of these things are exactly the same in all the widgets that they have here. Remove the hover menu altogether, and we copy this widget, and let's just give it a name for now. So it would be New Zealand clock. We go to our Notion and paste it. Same thing, embed. And now we have this widget in here, and it's yellow. We could as well actually put them next to each other like this. So let's go back, look at other ones. Countdown. So for instance, we want to know how much time is left for Christmas. And we select the day. Christmas is far away. 25th. Let's make it really like just midnight. And you see something like this. Let's say maybe we don't really need any times in here. Let's see, maybe we just need only the days, right? And that's what we have. 321 days to go before Christmas. We can also remove this. So we just see this very minimal I do like minimal things, as you could see. It's just this toggles to play around, right? Whatever works for you. I do think that the bigger text works a bit better. The same thing, text and accent colors and background colors. Maybe we don't really need to change them. They're pretty straightforward. Again, let's remove the hover menu, perhaps in here, make it a bit smaller. Let's make it a bit smaller. And we copy, and again, I forgot the name, Christmas, or let's call it maybe Days Till Christmas. Go back, so all the new widgets, they end up in here up front. We go back. We actually maybe even, we can add it in here. That would be our embed. Done, done, done. Right, we could as well also adjust it in here. So it doesn't really matter what kind of size we used in Indify, you could still adjust it in here in Notion. Next type of widget is the counter. These are the ones that I was using. Say we want to have a counter for the books that we read this year, right? We could have something called books. A little life hack in here. If you're on a Mac, you can press Control Command Space, and then you have your emojis in here. And you could create an emoji. Makes it more visual, you know, for the dashboard. I think it's quite a good idea. Then you can also have this kind of arrows. I mean, arrows could also work pretty okay. I do like plus and minus a little bit more. You have your style options. It could be dark. Actually, there is no difference. Maybe it's a bug. Background color as well. You could set it. You can just dismiss that. Yeah, so in the dark mode, that would look like this. But I almost never use the dark mode, so let's keep it for the light mode. I think it would be fine to keep it like this. And again, that would be our books counter. Copy. Let's get back. And go back to Notion and create another embed. If you don't want to use this much space for your tiny widget, you can actually just do it like this, right? So this is not taking that much space. And we might perhaps keep it in here, right up like this. And of course it works, right? So you could click and that would be, or you can reset if that's something that you do, for example, weekly, and each week you start from scratch. Next widget is Google Calendar. Google Calendar is quite a cool thing to have, but what happens is you need to log in into your account and you need to give Indify access to your Google Calendar in here. And that's something that I don't find very secure. I'm going to do that for now to show you how that works. But I am concerned about privacy. I want to select a different calendar. So that will be holidays in the Netherlands, another calendar that I have in here. And by default, you see the monthly view that you could, of course, change to the week. It could be one day. Then you could go and look at what the view that you would like to have by default. For instance, let that be a week, right? So this is how it's going to look like. All of those are for the paid plan, and as well as selecting multiple is also the paid plan option. So the week starts on Monday, yes. So some options are pretty straightforward, right? Let's say I would also prefer to have 24-hour format. You could have certain style options. They are very similar to what we already looked at. Let's not have any hover menu again. And then you copy that. And then we can go back to our Notion and paste the calendar in here. The great thing is that this calendar actually looks pretty neat. It doesn't look the way the regular Notion, oh wow, something goes wrong, that your regular Notion embed of the calendar looks like. The problem is, if I use this link, and if I open the incognito window and I paste it, Command V, you could also see that. So that makes my calendar pretty public, and that's something that I don't want to have. So yes, this is the example of the holidays in the Netherlands calendar, but your private calendar will have exactly the same effect. I checked before. I don't think this is okay. So important thing to go back to your Google Calendar afterwards, your Google account settings, and revoke the rights from Indify. So up to you to decide whether you would like to go for that, but anyone who would have that link will be able to access your calendar, which is, in my opinion, not okay. So let's delete that widget. Maybe we don't need it. What happens here actually? The widget is still there. Interesting. And if I update the page? Yes, so the deleted widget is not shown anymore, so we could maybe delete that. What I could do, actually quickly go for my account, and that's actually this link. I already had that. You could see the third-party apps that have access to your Google account, and I could select this one and remove access from here. So if you want to know how to get there, you have your Google account, you go to data and privacy, and you need to scroll. And you need this section, third-party apps with account access. All right. Let's get back to our widgets. So let's create an image gallery. So from here, we could upload an image. Some images I used for my previous video. With money up. It's just one, right? So it's we can upload more images. So let's maybe create a gallery with some money. So if I select 2, they're also different format. Okay, that doesn't work. Once again, yeah. No, this doesn't work. Interesting. So 1 file is okay, 2 files, not okay. All right, so we have this gallery of 3 items. This is Amsterdam, by the way. We could go cover, so that will actually take the full width of the frame. What else do we have here? A wraparound image size. All right, so that will keep the proportions of the image to some degree. All right, I like the cover option the most. Yeah, the gallery speed is something that you need to pay for. Scroll speed, we can go fast, right? So we'll be like this. Show dots or not show dots, right? I always like some indication about how much content there is, so I think dots are quite helpful. And yeah, we cannot do anything in here over this overlay arrows over slides. So I guess the arrows would be in the picture, in the slide, and not outside of it. All right, same style options, background color, text color, and dark mode, and hover menu that we also don't want. And the same thing, we copy the link to the clipboard, go back to our Notion, and insert embed. So here it actually very nicely scales. Yeah, the only thing that doesn't look that nice is the whole embed UI of the Notion that actually shows you that this is an embed and all these controls. That's a trade-off that you need to take. Otherwise, it looks pretty nice. All right, let's go and explore our next widget. It's the live progress bar. Yes, you can literally create a progress bar of your life. So here they actually offer you to select your birth date. I don't know, let's just check whatever age. Imagine that we are, I don't know, just 20 years old. Yeah, that would mean that our 20 years old is a quarter of our lives. It might be pretty useful if what you want is not all of that, but let's say you're only tracking like how much time is left in the year, right? So that would be your widget. And you can also check the precision. You might use just integers. You might have like 1 decimal point or 2 decimal points. Fractions, wouldn't really think how, where that will be useful. But let's say, let's make it with decimals, maybe just integers, no decimals. And we copy that on the clipboard, paste into our Notion. Pum, pum, pum. Yeah, that looks a little bit too chunky. Yeah, unfortunately, this probably cannot get any smaller than that. So this is not going to look very elegant. Let's call it a year. All right, next one is quotes. I know some people like the inspirational quotes and they actually keep them on their dashboards. You could select a source of the quotes. You can also keep the refresh button so you can have a different quote. You did not wake up today to be mediocre. Could be cool. You could remove the refresh icon if you don't want these things to be refreshed. I personally think it might be useful if you like these things to have something new. I don't think the refresh happens automatically though. And the same thing with the styling, it's a little bit of less options. We can as well remove the hover menu, daily quote, copy that, and embed it again. What I'm trying to tell you is all of these widgets are public, which means that all the public links could be copied by anyone and inserted into their Notion pages as well. And our next widget is the weather. You know how the animation during the loading time works? Makes you think that the stuff is loading faster. I could select perhaps Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And I really don't understand the imperial system. I would like to use the metric one. We want the full week, 7 days. And we cannot do anything with this because we need to upgrade for that. So different weather fields. We could hide today's weather forecast or show that because I do think it might be relevant. Dates are apparently also a paid feature. I wonder how did they pick what is the paid feature and what is not. Right, so animating icons could be turned off, so you then will have the static ones. Let's just keep them. You could keep them grayscale because some people in Notion especially, they do like this black and white aesthetics. Forecast background, right, it's also a paid plan feature. And the same background color standard. Styling option, and again, let's remove the hover menu. Copy. Keep on forgetting the name. Weather. Good. Let's go back to the Notion and embed our weather widget. So, see, it doesn't really look that pretty, but it is responsive. It's something that I also like about these widgets. They are responsive. So you could also fit them into a different layout, right? So if you could have them totally on the side, all these numbers, right? So I think this could work pretty well. All right, so this is our overview of the widgets that you can create with Indify. As you could see, it's not that many, but I think they are pretty cute. These widgets are not super fast, but they're functional. They are not super secure, so I will not recommend adding your Google Calendar there. But for other purposes, I think it works pretty well. In my opinion, it's a pretty cool product. I'm very curious to see how they're going to develop further. What other widgets are they going to add? I think they're also pretty open to feedback. You can always get in touch with them and suggest a new widget or a new feature or report a bug. So these are all the widgets that Indify shows. It was quite fun to test them out with you. And that's all I have to say. Did you like any of these widgets? Are you going to use any of them in your Notion setup? Please write some comments below. I would be very curious to know. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't yet. And I will see you next week. Bye.